January Disadvantaged Business and Workforce Advisory Committee to order. And before I turn it over to Salima to take the roll, I just want to acknowledge that we had some good conversation in our January meeting, and there were definitely some good points that Barb and others brought forth. Really, I think what was trying to be communicated is that there is a danger. Well, I'm not going to say danger. There is a risk in allowing others to tell our story for us, and not taking ownership of telling our own story. And as a proud Minnesotan and a proud son of this region and native Northsider, I do love my state, my region, my city. However, I am tired of being last and amongst the worst in terms of disparities in and I think with the years that we have left on this specific project, my call to all of us and my challenge is that we use this time to write our own chapter and to write a new chapter. And I don't want to miss that when I say all of us, that I include myself in that as well. So I just wanted to say that and thank those who participated in that conversation, and definitely I've had time to think about it and wanted to just acknowledge that and make that call for all of us to take on that challenge. So with that, thank you, and Salima, I'll turn it over to you to take the roll.
Thank you so much, Ashanti. I'm going to start with the roll call. Barry, I see you're here.
Yep.
Gilbert, you're here.
Yes, Salima.
Sheila, I see you. Julie Brecky or John Clem from Hired?
Julie Brecky's here.
Thank you, Julie. Melanie Williams, Twin Cities Rise. Okay. Tony O'Brien, Summit Academy. Okay. Mel Reeves or Maura Brown from Hired, Minnesota. Okay. I see Leslie from City of Minneapolis. I see John O'Phelan. I see Mary Schmidt.
I was on mute. Mel's here.
Oh, hi, Mel. I got you. I got Mary Schmidt from MnDOT. I got Barb and Jerry from Association of Women Contractors. We got Dale and Krista from Lunda. We got Katie from CS Morrison. McCrossan, sorry. We've got Chris Gannon and Mike Toney from APJV. We've got Elaine and Brianne from MDHR. We see Ashanti, Mahad, and Aaron from Met Council. Anyone else from Met Council? Okay. We see Brian and Likanu from Ellis Black. And we see Barb Pex, Janelle Miller, and Norma Miller, who are here for our panel. Is there anyone else who's present at the meeting whose name was not called? Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we have the minutes and the handouts. If you could please review them and let us know if you have any edits, any additions, or any corrections so that we can make them. We appreciate your review of it.
Salima, this is
yes.
Barb.
Hi, Barb.
First of all, I would say if you're not speaking, could you make sure you're muted because there's a lot of feedback right now. But I just wanted to note on the minutes, if somebody could please fix Krista Seberg's name. The spelling is wrong for Krista Seberg. That would be more accurate. It should be ERG, not URG. And then on number 4, Roman numeral 4, number 2, that the last sentence in that point is really cumbersome. I don't think it's correct. So I would recommend having it read, the point is to discuss methods/strategies to get those numbers, and take out the is just like the committee. It didn't make sense to me.
Thank you, Barb.
That's all I had on the minutes.
Thank you.
Salima, this is Barry.
Hi, Barry.
I was late last month, but I was in attendance.
Oh, okay. Well,
I did
thank you,
log in,
Barry.
but I was after roll call.
Oh, thank you. We'll add you to the roster then. Thank you so much, Barry, for that correction. If you have any others, feel free to email us also. If you notice it after the meeting, we just want to make sure the record is correct. Ashante, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you. First, on the agenda, we have representatives from Building Strong Communities. They have an update for their program and some of the activities that they have. So I know we have Aaron, Barry, and this is really embarrassing.
Jenny Winkler and Gary are
Yes.
not on the call right now, but both, I'm hoping one or two may join us.
Yes, Jenny was who was escaping me, so I'm glad she's not on the call to know that I forgot about her. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Shante. So as I start, you can go to the next slide, I believe. Really excited about coming to you and this large group. And some of our guests here tonight actually do have direct experience with the BSC program and will continue. I want to say that Barry and I are half of the leadership team with the representing building trades and the Met Council's workforce department. Gary Courtney with Met Council and Jenny Winkler with the operating engineers completes the 4-person leadership squad. And we're really excited to bring this because when Ashante led off in his comments, which I appreciate, we think of this project having the potential of being a legacy project affiliated with not only the Met Council, but Southwest. And I think we've got a foundation, despite COVID, that we're building on. And we're excited to share what 2021 is going to bring. I believe the next slide, Jason, is going to be our entertainment, which is, yes. So this is that image to the left is recognizable. We introduced it last meeting, and it is our flyer for the 2021 program. And then I'm going to kind of steal Barry's time and one of an iron worker's profile, not only in the picture, but in this video that we'd like to share with you right now. About 1.5 minutes. Jason?
I've worked odd jobs, fast food, retail, everywhere. Construction was not in the books for me.
Went through a local church in my neighborhood of St. Paul, and they referred me to the Building Strong Communities program. They informed me that the Building Strong Communities program would introduce you to some local trades around the Twin Cities area that were hiring and looking for some professionals to get into the industry.
I'm with the union, that I have a pension, I got great benefits. It's just changed my life.
I got insurance, I got benefits, I got job security. I just got an apartment, I bought a new car. I'm doing good for myself.
The knowledge and experience that I've gotten so far has been amazing. I've never had a job like this. It's definitely the best job that I've ever had. College is a great option, but you can also hop into a trade and have a successful career as well.
My future's very bright. I have the financial freedom to do whatever I want to do, and that means everything for me. to not live from paycheck to paycheck.
During the time I went through the BSC program, I was homeless. I just bought an apartment.
Take my kids to the park sometimes and I show them like, you know, a part of the trail that we've been building, and I show them where I cut, you know, the dirt at with the skid steer, and I show them where we excavated at, and they go crazy. When the summer comes around, I can show them what it looks like when it's completed, and maybe they can take their kids there one day and show them that, you know, my grandpa built this, you know, and they can be proud of that work too.
Thank you I hope you enjoyed that. It's I've had a chance to watch it a number of times. I really still enjoy it. Barry, I want to include you and maybe, you know, talk about is there we had a chance to kind of track, and that's what makes this program unique in many ways. Going off script here a second. One of the individuals you saw in that was an operating engineer. And part of the program involves us connecting with these individuals. And it's very needed for us to stay in their lives during this first year of apprenticeship. Barry, I don't know if we wanted to share anything from our conversation with one of the people that you saw there. But it drives home just how important hands-on 1 year in really is.
Yeah, it was just, you know, it was nice to see and to follow up with them and to continue to offer guidance to him, you know, and support. That's something that I'm taking back to our own apprenticeship program and having to follow up with all apprentices. And I think that's one thing that we've learned through building strong communities is that follow up and that attention and that help doesn't just end when they get into the program. They need assistance along the way. And it's something that I think will really improve our program. And I think that's one of the things that stands out about building strong communities is that level of commitment that continues, you know, for at least a year. So that's a pretty important part of the program.
Yeah, and that's what we think makes this very unique pathway, and one that hopefully is a legacy model because as we advance our conversation as a community, as a group, as Ashante referenced last meeting, we need to start talking about retention. And that's just as heavy of a lift as getting them employed. So I want to just kind of, next slide would be appropriate. I think we know the success to date is a good starting point. And that is, we have a diversity of individuals who started their apprenticeship, both in gender as well as ethnicity. And the diversity of trades is something that we also are proud of, because there are many opportunities, and not just involving labor or a carpenter, but many different trades like this iron workers that we want to open doors to. Next slide. Next slide, Jason. This is not an exhaustive list, but is a good representation of the different organizations involved with this year's Building Strong Communities program. We have a number of people, including Norma Miller on the call, and people who are talking in future in today's meeting who represent these key feeder organizations, as well as funders, as well as, next slide, most important part, which is the trades. Jason, next slide, please.
Aaron, if I could, I think that a good sign is that we're building upon last year. The 2021 cohort is encompassing more unions, more community-based organizations, groups like Women Build Success. They're sponsoring a cohort of 10 females into the program. So this continues to grow, and we're seeing success from 2020 carry into 2021.
And I also want to call out, I see Jenny Winkler, who I mentioned as part of the leadership group, has joined us too. So Jenny, please feel free to jump in as we make our way through here. Next slide, Jason, please. So to give a better sense of what this program pathway is, we're in the step one, which is the recruitment and enrollment phase. And that is what we're also coming to the table with today for assistance. We hope to have 60 individuals who meet the minimum qualifications and then commit to this pathway journey. The next step is about 4 weeks of 3 evening sessions a week that cover both technical foundational information about the trades, the difference between highway heavy, vertical, emotional intelligence that will be provided by Twin Cities Rise, a partner, and then weekly panel conversations with industry representatives, fellow successful journey persons and apprentices. After those 4 weeks, we then have an interview and a filter, if you will, with a drug test and an interview to really get the commitment, because step 3 and step 4 represents an opportunity to begin an apprenticeship and hopefully a journey person career. That step 3 is the month of May, roughly, where individuals will be exposed to all the trades, both virtually and in some cases hands-on, and receive a level of training that they can confidently take that next step and pursue the trade of interest and the trade that's going to work best with their abilities and desires. Unlike other programs, we really do not have everyone starts work at this date. This is a rolling effort in a program. Case in point, we don't have to go back to the previous slide, but we still have individuals who completed the program in 2020 during COVID in the summer who are currently applying to get into an apprenticeship with the pipe trade, because the pipe trades only open up their registration this time in the calendar year. So success is not measured by who starts work after the completion of step 3. It is really trying to make where the people are at, where the individuals are at, and get them into a career, whatever path that takes them. And finally, as we talked about, Barry and I had a chance, and Jenny as well on the call, to really connect with and provide resources to make that first year of their apprenticeship a success. And that's really where we're going to hang our hat on when it comes to building a program that's going to make a difference and really start helping us make these goals on all capital projects in the region. Next slide. Our next slide, please. Oh, this is animated, so please bear with us. So this is actually lifted from an orientation session, which happens tonight. So this is more information, so you can, again, pass this along to your networks, because nothing's going to bring you closer to this project, in my opinion, than getting a professional or personal network to have individuals go through this journey and you with them. 18 years old, high school diploma equivalent or GED. That drug screen I mentioned happens after the 4th week of participation. Driver's license, reliable transportation is an industry requirement. They are not currently enrolled in a construction union or training program, and they're legally eligible to work in the United States. Next slide. And here's the expectations of the participants. It ranges from about 3 to 4 days a week during those 7-8 weeks. There's 2 to 3 hours of assignments a week, whether it be watching videos, reading, researching, doing math, other applicable assignments, engagement expectations, being on time, being present, being ready to work. This is not an exploratory. This results in you firmly getting on that apprenticeship pathway. And then attendance, participation. This is competitive. When we advance individuals, we want to have confidence in them, and they demonstrate their confidence. They earn our confidence and trust by meeting the expectations of attendance, participation. I really would like Jenny and Barry to chime in because I know I did not cover everything, and but thank you for your time. I think that's it. Jason, next slide. I believe that's the last. There we go. Thank you. Barry, Jenny?
I think you covered it pretty well, Aaron. You know, it's continuing to grow. It's getting bigger and better every year, and that's a good thing. You know, we had a lot of challenges in 2020 and came through it quite nicely, and I think we're geared up to have a successful 2021.
I just want to thank all of the partners in building strong communities that help make the program a success. And I want to express my gratitude and appreciation as well to the participants, because this is an educational program that goes both ways. I think as much as we have done our best to inform participants about the culture and opportunities within the construction industry, I think we have learned equally as much from the participants about developing better programming and how ultimately we can work together as an industry and all of the various stakeholders to really provide more meaningful impact and programming for the participants as well. So thanks everybody for the opportunity.
Thank you, Aaron, Jenny, and Barry. Do any of the committee members have questions, comments on the presentation, or in general for the Building Strong Communities leadership team?
Hey, this is Barb. If you said it, I zoned out and didn't hear it. What was the how was the placement percentage of people going into construction after the last one? Like, did they get picked up by companies and were they working, etc.?
Barb, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. I have some bad audio on my end. Maybe Barry or Jenny can answer it, or you can re-ask.
I was asking, and if I missed it, correct me. How many of the participants last time ended up, you know, going into the industry and getting jobs, and are they still working right now?
Thank you. Thank you. We had 13 placements. We hope to have additional placements this month into apprenticeship programs. There are a number of participants who are not currently working due to the winter, and we've had about 3 or 4 who've journey ended, didn't complete their first year. We will we'll include that as the construction season starts back up and they start back up as well. We'll have more accurate number of those 13 who are currently working.
And Barb, this is Jenny. Just want to tag on to Aaron's numbers. He did comment about this in his presentation, but Building Strong Communities was really designed to help the participant identify the trade area that best aligns with not only their interests and circumstances, but also their aptitudes and abilities. We do have several participants that are in this for the long haul pursuing. They've currently applied to the pipe trades apprenticeship programs, where that window just opened and closed here very recently. As well as we actually had a participant in the program identify that the electrical trade was the best fit for her. She understood from communicating both with the IBW in St. Paul as well as Minneapolis the unemployment situation in the electrical trades currently. But an example of how this is a long-term strategy is Building Strong Communities leadership team. Those unions and contractor associations wrote letters of recommendation to secure a scholarship for her. She's currently pursuing the electrical program, enrolled in it, and pursuing completion of that degree at St. Paul College while she waits for an opportunity for employment and in the apprenticeship program. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you guys for that information. It kind of feeds to all the good work. I mean, you guys have done phenomenal work on kicking this off and rolling this out, and I can't stop smiling at that video and how happy those people are that are part of the video. And I would just, the nuances of how many people that go through this that decides that the trades are something for them after all, how many people are able to get into the trades at that moment, how many people last after we get them in. I think those are going to be statistics as you guys continue this program over 5 years, and it helps to tell the story about maybe what the struggles are for getting people to stay in the trades too over time. I think that'll be really helpful for us all to be able to tell a story and address whatever things that that might come up for these new people that you guys are really staying connected to throughout. And I'm really proud of you guys.
Any other questions or comments for the team?
Ashanti, this is Mary Schmidt at Mbe.
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd reiterate what Barb just said. I've seen the video a few times too. I think it's a wonderful video. It really does it. It's just such a meaningful, I love that video. Thanks for sharing that. Two things. One is please continue to reach out. Let me know if there's anything here at MnDOT that maybe we could somehow help the program. I know that it's important that they get hired in the trades. And then I guess the other point I would make is if anyone could say a little bit more, you mentioned a women's cohort of 10 that are going to be sponsored this year. Maybe just a little bit more about how that's what that's gonna look like. That's pretty exciting. And I'll just say too, thanks to everyone for your wonderful work on this. And it's always wonderful to get updates at these meetings.
Thank you, Mary. I will comment on the female cohort. We'll actually sponsor 10 to 15 because our hope is to ultimately place 8 to 10, and we recognize that there will be some attrition throughout the program. Women Building Success actually is sponsoring the female cohort through the Building Strong Communities program. Some of our female participants that completed the last 2020 cohort are some of our best performers and rock solid. We also recognize this is a tremendous need for the construction trades and the industry as a whole. And so we're working very hard to continue to make strides in the female participation in the industry. Does that answer your question, Mary?
Yes, thank you, Jenny. Good luck. Look forward to hearing more about that.
Thank you.
All right, I'm checking for hands, and I don't see any other hands. Any other comments? And Mary, is your hand? Okay, there we go. All right, hearing none, I'll just say, yes, I agree with everything that was just said. I was smiling throughout that video, and was really impressed in terms of, the young man that talked about, one day hoping his grandkids get to see what he built and passing along that story. The other thing that I was really encouraged by is to see that 62%, I believe, of the cohort was women, and to hear the additional work and sponsorship that's being done along those lines. John O'Phelan, who's a committee member, has shared some data with us multiple times, and we know what the apprenticeships look like in terms of their makeup. And, you know, it's just, you know, I just think about, we get so surprised, or we act surprised when, you know, and we wonder why, okay, we're not meeting our numbers and women were so low. And, you know, it shouldn't be surprising when we look at what the apprenticeship looks like in terms of women participation. However, we can't just be content with that. We have to develop strategies and ways to recruit and attract women to this industry, and make sure, again, like Aaron said, we retain women in the industry. And I'm proud and glad to see that Building Strong Communities is working on that and meeting that challenge. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. So thank you to the team, and looking forward to hearing more in the future.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to move to the Southwest LRT Project update. So I'm going to turn it over to Sam O'Connell from the Southwest Project Office.
I think we're having John sit in for Sam because Sam has a conflict today. And so.
Thank you. So next slide, please. Oh, before we do that too, I also want to acknowledge that somebody asked for the link to the video, and we will share it out and send it out to all the advisory committee members, and then also include it in the meeting minutes. So, all right. So for the Southwest project update, these are some of the dates that are coming up for virtual town hall meetings. And the project office is, you know, engaging the public and talking to them about the upcoming 2021 construction activities. And by doing that, we want to host a whole bunch of virtual town halls in each of the communities so that we can, you know, give space for people to express concerns and answer any questions about the activities that are taking place. If you are interested, you know, there is more information at the swlrt.org, and click on the public involvement tab. In addition to that, we also want to highlight the overview of the 2020 accomplishments and some of the things that are coming up ahead in 2021. So we ask that all the members here and everybody that is listening to this to please share these town hall events with your networks. We want to be engaged and hear as many thoughts and perspectives from our community members and stakeholders as possible so that we can keep you informed and keep you in the loop with all the activities that are taking place. So, any questions? All right, passing it back to the chairs.
Thank you. And I think I am going back to you, behind the back. John, you're up the achievement report.
Thank you. All right, slide 16, please. Okay, so these are the bill to date numbers, and for the contract as a whole, and then for the DBEs to date as of December 31st. Some of the good things that I see and I want to highlight is on the Franklin contract, the participation of the DBEs have gone up to 15.7, so we are exceeding the goal there. And the systems contract follows pretty closely with the civil contract, so you know, I believe at our last meeting, it was shared out that you know, this coming spring, when the civil contract turns over some of the construction sites over to the systems contract, they will have more participation at that time. But during this time, they are preparing a lot of the behind the scenes work and doing a lot of the programming of the systems and communications equipment and software for this. So The participation for DBEs is doing good. We are having quarterly meetings with our prime contractors and addressing any DBE issues and concerns as they pop up through our commercially useful function site visits with them, and then also at these quarterly meetings with them. So that is my update for the DBE section. If there are any questions, please, let me know. I will pass it back to the co-chairs. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have civil LMJV DBE activities. Chris?
Yep, could you go to the next slide, please? Dale, do you want to report on this part? Dale?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. I do want to speak to this one, and I think there's some more research that needs to go into the numbers for the change order participation, because the way we're arriving at that in some of these lump sum change orders, we're estimating stuff like, let's say, the trucking that goes in for MBE. And so we don't really segregate that, and we don't, and I'm not sure that these numbers are exactly correct by the way it gets reported through the eBuilder, LCP tracker, wherever it's recorded. That 7.7%, I question whether that's accurate. Because we're just pulling that out of eBuilder and talking to the change department, how we load that stuff in there. It's not very scientific. I would say the more important part is because as these changes come, you know, some of it's work that's already in the rears, and it's just like T&M work. The more important number really is the focus on where the participation rate is overall in the project.
That's a fun number to actually look at, you guys. If you look at our goal for the for the overall project is 16%, and our participation is 20%. So it's a good number to be watching. And like Dale said, there's some research we need to be doing on this reporting here. This slide might have a little bit more information or a little bit different looking, more clear information for you guys moving forward. So unless anybody has any current questions, why don't we move along to the next slide, please? So as you can see, next month, even though the construction numbers are down due to winter and stuff, we still have quite a few companies that are working through those winter times and everything. So it's good to see our list. Next slide, please. And our highlight this month, we chose to highlight one of our trucking companies that is just doing an amazing job for the overall project, and that's Mbe Trucking. And what's great is if you drive along the light rail areas of construction, you see Mbe Trucking trucks everywhere. But take a look at their contract. It's a very nice chunk for a DBE firm. But even better yet is when we reached out to Mike, our project manager, that is MBE's mentor project manager. He only had absolutely great things to say. They're a vital piece to the project. They work very hard to provide the fleet necessary to keep up with the magnitude of this project. And they've done a great job. So it's really fun to see the relationship grow, not just with MBE and Lunda, but McCrossin and all the other, contractors that are on this project working with them. So there's our celebration of them. The other thing too is we have a really cool meeting coming up. It'll be our second one for the project. That is a DBE specific meeting to kind of make sure everybody's on, base with knowing what they need to be doing and when and what the requirements are and stuff. And so that's next week that we'll be having that with all of our DBE contractors. And we're working with, really making sure that our DBEs know who the mentor is that's assigned to them on the project. And that is it for us, I do believe. Any questions? Nope, then let's move along. Thanks.
All right, Aldridge Parsons Systems. I believe Mike Tony is.
Actually, it's Ashani, it's Chris. I'm going to cover the DBE part. Hi, this is Chris Gannon. I'll be going over the DBE activities for the systems project. Next slide, please. So, like we've been talking about for the last couple of meetings, the majority of our field work is getting pushed. We were supposed to start in 2021 based on the impacts of the civil contract. The majority of our work's not going to start now until 2022. However, this year in 2021, we are going to be getting access to our first traction power substation locations, and it's going to involve these subs. Right now, we're not doing any field work outside, but we're in the planning process, working in the office with the subs to do our work plans. So we're ready to go April, May of this year to start these foundations. Next slide, please. We've got some quotes out to these two DBEs that are not currently on our plan. But if we can get these folks signed up, we'll definitely add these values to our DBE plan. We have top line, looking at quotes from them for the project signs for the project, and then IMO for the pre and post inspection services. Next slide, please. So for us in change orders, we're actually at a negative point with the council. In our change orders, we're negative about 600,000, but our DBEs, they're still positive. You can see their gunner is has change orders for 191,000, and then generation cable for 413, but they're a material only, so you have to factor that down by 40%. Since they only get 60% credit, but still that's a pretty good increase for them, the 247,000. And like John had mentioned earlier, our DBE participation to date is 10.7%. Next slide, please. Well, I guess that's it for us. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
This is Barb Lau. I was just wondering, the two new DBEs you're looking at, are those both Minnesota based or not? Just curious.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ellis Black. I'm not going to say any names this time, so I'm just going to say Ellis Black, Franklin O'Neill.
That's all right. It's Brian Leach with Ellis Black. You can go to the next slide and we can walk through this. I guess for slide looking to increase DBE participation, we've got some more work upcoming. I think I mentioned that at the last meeting. We're fortunate enough to keep working through some of these winter conditions, and we have some trades that are opening up here as we get them closed and we continue to work. So we have a bulk or some more trades that are our DBE partners that are going to be coming on soon. You can go to the next slide there and talk about one of them here. Okay. Might be missing a slide there. Is that it for Ellis Black?
All right. Any questions for Ellis Black before we move on? Can I turn it over to Selena?
That's Barb. What are you finding, since you're new and your scope isn't as big as a civil one? What are you finding in turnaround for your pay app processing through the council right now for, and then getting back out to your subs? Timeline.
Barb, was that question for Brian and Ellis Black? Was that question for Brian? Did Ellis Black follow that?
Yes, Brian, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, sorry. I think you were asking turnaround time for pay applications. Yeah, I mean, to be on average, we've been looking at 90 days to 100 days.
Is that because of council turnaround, or is that, where's that getting hung up? I'm just curious, because again, I think I had heard this actually from 1 or 2 subs already, and 90 days is something we were trying not to get to. So again, I'm voicing my concern that I'm hearing it now with another GC with a different part of the project, so.
Yeah, I would say there's some area for improvement on our end and getting it in a timely manner. However, most of the bulk hang-up is with some schedule impact review, narrative responses, kind of the process of reviewing the other items in the payout. So I'd say that's the majority of it. And, we're working to try to improve that, and I've already had discussions with our CAR or CAR to address that. But yeah, right now we've been tracking 90 days, and it's not acceptable on our end, and I feel bad for some of our subcontractors that are trying to get paid out too. So it's an initiative to try to get that expedited here.
Okay, Brian, now you're on notice. I'm watching, so just letting you know. And if it's a problem that's, coming from the council, we need to know that too. But I hope not to get more calls from any subs. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll pay them within the 10 days we get paid. It's in our opinion, it's something that's being held up on the council's end. So if you have any push on that side, we'd appreciate it as well.
Well, let me just, address that a little bit. We've done some work and made some progress for sure in cutting down that turnaround time on the civil. I'm a little concerned this issue is popping up, or we're starting at a place on this contract at 90 to 100 days. But I would definitely say this is not a side or the council side or whatever, but I will guarantee that we will work together collaboratively with LS Black to make sure that we get that time cut down, and we'll have some more information for you on that for the next meeting. But
appreciate it.
Definitely us working together in order to figure out and make sure that we can cut that time period down.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Ashanti. I really appreciate it. I know we this out the gate with London McCrossan we had it, and we're having it again, and let's all work together because that will put these businesses out. Thanks, you guys.
Yep, and thank you for holding us accountable, because yes, I know how serious of an issue that is. It can be for small businesses, and I do as well. So thank you. Any other questions for Ellis Black?
Ashanti, can you hear me? This is Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a quick comment. Bob, I appreciate that question as always. And this is for LS Black. That I think the other contractors, LMJV, have showed that they can sometimes take steps in keeping these small businesses in afloat. So I think my comment to them would be to try to not just be transactional with the small businesses, but get to know them closer. So when they're having issues with cash flow, they can come to them. I'm not by any means suggesting that you float them throughout the project, but I think it helps when you know where they are and where they have pinch points, so you can help them carry along, whether it's you paying them ahead or for work that's already done, or reaching out to council to facilitate a payment because the DBE is struggling. I think it's something that has been done by the other contractors. So just, from lessons learned kind of point of view, it's something to know that it helps to build that relationship with them so they can approach you when they are having, very tight times. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. All right, we're going to move to our workforce. Sorry, Salima. Salima.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you, Ashanti. I'm going to turn it over to Elaine.
Actually, guys, this is Brian Renzel. I'm sorry, I had to take another call for a second. I got back on the tail end of that conversation. What was the concern with the payment? Because I just had my team check an e-builder, and we've been paying those LS Blacks payments like 30 to 40 days. So can someone just share with me what that concern was so I can just double check that and see what might be the issue?
Yeah, Brian, it's Brian Leach. So I've been just in this role picking up from Jeff Salzman, and I know we've got some issues as far as, I want to say, PAP 6 and 7, and we can talk offline not to get too far in the weeds, and maybe it is more toward the 60-day range recently, but I know it's been a little bit of a pump getting through a lot of schedule comments and concerns. So if that's something we can look at expediting, but we can double check. And I guess with Gilbert's point earlier, yeah, if we get some correspondence or some notifications from some of our DBE partners that they're really needing payment, we can reach out and try to be collaborative to get them paid.
Yeah, let's do that. 'Cause I take this issue really seriously, and we fixed the civil issue that we had, and so if council has any issues on OMF, we will fix them. But I'm not seeing that, so yeah, let's talk offline about that. Okay.
Fair enough. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
And
Appreciate it.
Brian Ronzell, it's Barb Lau, of course, I'm the one that brought it up. But yeah, it was, I think PAP 6 is the one that I had heard about in particular, and 5. So I know the contractor had been paid now, after I'd heard about it, but it like Brian with Ellis Black says, it had been up to 90 days. And so I was just flagging that out there right away, and let's make sure that we do like we did on civil and catch it right away.
Yeah. So no problem. I just want to make sure we track down what the issue is, because I'm just not seeing. So we'll talk with Ellis Black offline to make sure we understand what the issue is.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Elaine, next slide.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Salima. So for the civil contract in December, they worked 46,884 hours, and project to date, 975,784 hours. For women, their participation was 7.6%, 62% for the month, and overall they're at 8.5%. For people of color and indigenous people, they came in at 21.29%, and overall they're at 21.42%. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, because I know hold any questions until all of the workforce updates are done, for myself and the 3 contractors, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. As I said, so on this slide, we have the breakdown in terms of the actual hours. For unspecified, there were 324 hours, which is about 1%. White women were 2,340 hours, or 5%. Women of color were 1,232 hours, or 2%. Men of color were 8,750, or 19%. And white men came in at 34,238 hours, or 73%. Next slide, please. For the civil project, the trucking that is being counted on the project, just work that's being done on the site, Mbe has worked 17,988 hours. ZTS 3,426 hours, and Rock on Trucks 683 hours. Next slide, please. For the systems contract, they did work 38 hours during the month of December. So they have a total hours from the start of the project of 261 hours. They did not have any women during the month of December, but they are at 29.5% overall. People of color, they came in at 29%, and they're at 29.5% overall. Next slide, please. For the Franklin O&M project, Ellis Black reported 6,876 hours. From the start of the project, they've worked 23,726 hours. In December, they reported 12.74%, and they're at 9.51% overall. For people of color and Indigenous people, they reported 28.85%, and they're at 28.02% overall. Presentation.
Thank you, Elaine.
I will turn it over to Linda. Thank you.
We'll ask LMJV to come and share their workforce activities. Next slide, please.
All right, guys, I'm back. So anyways, lots happening this past month. Since the workforce is lower, we've had a lot of discussions with many different people in the construction industry regarding outreach efforts, both with recruitment, but as we continue to talk about the retaining. So many different meetings, as you can see, you can read them. I can read through them for you, but you can read them. But the big things, you guys, are the things that are coming up this next month. Internally here on the light rail project specifically, I'm working with Salima regarding an upcoming presentation that I want to have scheduled for in March. It'll be a very proactive one. We have a panel of contractors on the project, varying in size and also their number of participation to date. So we get a variety there. But what we're going to be doing is having the community business, community outreach programs, able to ask questions as to what can they do to help us, and different things like that. Because we want to continue moving forward on building those relationships and creating success stories. So we really look forward to this one coming up. The other thing too is we have the absolutely awesome week that happens every year, and that's the Women in Construction Week. Our project will be extremely active during that week, not only attending the great events that are there, but also helping in the panel presentations, moderating and such like that. So a lot of really fun things moving forward. The other thing too, I also look forward to working very closely with both the controls and the Franklin teams too, to see what we can be as a group working together to help strengthen our community. So there's that right there. Next slide, please. Which it just continues showing the different, outreach efforts that are in the process. It'll be fun to actually start showing them. Next slide after that one. Ta-da! This is the one I told our team when we met last week. I can't wait to change this one a little bit. As you all know, especially with these last couple of weeks of the bitter cold, we don't have new hires happening right now. Actually, we've had layoffs happening. But the great thing to celebrate was when Elaine presented you guys our numbers, our percentages did not decrease during this time. But what is increasing is our participation in the outreach. So this slide is going to look a little different coming up in the near future, but not only is it going to celebrate how many people are being brought into the industry for us on this project, but we're also going to be focused on those that are already in it and what is being done to ensure that they stay in it. So there's that one. And next one. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. We're going to ask for any questions to be held off until all the workforce activity presentations have been done. I'm going to ask the APJV to please.
Thanks, Lima.
Sure. Thank you, Krista.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike, and it's good to be with you this afternoon. So we can go with the slide, please. Next slide. All right. You know, as Elaine said, in December, we had a whopping 38 hours. I think Gunner Electric had 2 employees work 2 days in the month of December. So it's just piecemeal activity. And, you know, due to the delays that we're experiencing, you know, where our work is not going to really begin until 2022. The work that we're going to have in 2021 is going to be piecemeal. We're hoping to have access to our first opportunity to work will be in May. At one of the substations, we'll be building a foundation, you know, traction power foundation. So hopefully that'll take place in May of 2021. We'll have another traction platform or substation foundation in June, July, and then maybe one more in October. So it's going to be really piecemeal again this year. So we're not going to see a lot of hiring and not going to see a lot of hours on this project through 2021. So through 2020, we've had I think a whopping total of 278 hours on the project so far. But we will continue to look at our hiring practice, meeting with our subs. We've had meetings with the locals, the primary locals, the electricians, 292 and 160, the operating engineer and 49. That's probably going to be about 70% of our crew makeup. We're working to identify, you know, opportunities to get, you know, participation for the women and people of color. And we have some preliminary meetings with Ramsey County, you know, and Taylor. You know, John gave me a name for Taylor, and we talked to him, and reaching out to Helmet to Hard Hats to try and get some returning veterans into the trades as well. We met with Building Strong Communities. We continue to interview for mock interviews at Summit Academy, and we're willing to do mock interviews with any organization or go to any job fairs and participate in any of that activity. We're talking about summer internships for high schools that participate in an after-school program, the ACE mentoring program. And then Meyer and Motrin and a couple other subs that Chris mentioned are going to be starting and hopefully in May if we have access at the end of April 30th. And we're planning to meet with these subs and in March, early April for the pre-job planning on what the crew makeup is going to be. We're just going to break it down by activity and figure out how you're going to, you know, what's going to be the participation of these crew makeups and just build it into our work plans and just really try and address it up front and see what we can do. But there's not going to be a lot of hiring. They're going to do it with their crews that they have, their core crews. And so there won't be a whole lot of opportunities. I know that the IBEW Local 292 is taking the test in March. You know, they canceled it in the fall due to COVID. But they'll be, you know, just trying to encourage people to get into the trades, especially the electricians' trades. And that's what we're working with.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your presentation. Ellis Black. Brian, are you presenting?
Yep, I am. Thanks, Lynn. You can go to the next slide. Whomever. So here, not a lot's changed, and I didn't want to keep all the same stuff from last month. Just good faith meetings with NDHR. I got a couple of things I'll expand on, but efforts to increase participation. I guess a couple of things that we don't have a lot of hiring changes currently going on specifically for LS Black. We're proud currently of the current crew diversity we have, and I think we've shown in our recent meetings that we've an uptick on both women and POC participation, strictly from LS Black. But I think where we have an area of opportunity is reaching out to some of our subs, trying to get their plans or their initiatives to try to increase their workforce. One thing I think Krista mentioned it earlier, I do need to touch base with her about the strategy on best practice or how you reach out to your trade partner or sub teams to encourage them to do these same outreach programs and increase their crews participation. So that's something that's hopefully on the near horizon while we have opportunity, because we've got a couple of key subs that we need to get on top of and understand their goals and how they're going to get to them. So not a lot of wordage here on the slide, but that's the plan. And Chris, at some point here, whether it be tomorrow or early next week, I'd like to reach out to you and talk strategy on kind of what you use on enforcing, I guess, sub participation rather than just weekly or monthly emails out there and see what they're doing.
Thank you, Brian.
I look forward to it, Brian.
Thank you,
Okay.
Krista, for offering your mentoring. Thank you. Any questions for any of the JVs or else Black regarding the workforce activities? Okay, well then we will get ready for our wonderful panel that we are excited about. As we all know, we've been talking about the specific issue of women in the trades and what type of pipeline efforts as well as what type of efforts are going on within the workplace for retention as well as pipeline. And we were lucky enough today to have three wonderful people to represent the field who are all people who have been in the trades and now are in the space of recruitment. So I would like to welcome the panelists. Next slide. We have Norma Miller from the Urban League Twin Cities, who I think all of these women are well known to all of us, but welcome Norma, who was a former painter. Welcome Janelle Miller from Peterson Companies, who was a former laborer in the heavy highway industry, and welcome Barb Pex from the Carpenters Union, who was a former carpenter. We're really excited to have you, and if we can ask you to please get on the video so that everybody can see you. I would like to start by giving each of you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourselves. Most of us know you, but there may be even more things that you're working on that we're unaware of. So we'll start with Norma Miller.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I am working for Urban League Twin Cities. I'm working there as a job developer with the LEAP program to get more people into the union trades. I have been in the trades. I started out in 1997 in New York, and when I moved to Minnesota, I went to the Union Hall and was able to get employment. So I just recently retired, probably going on 6 years now. And
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Norma. I didn't mean to cut you off. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, that's good.
Thank you, Norma, for being with us today. Next, I would like to ask Janelle to say a few words about herself.
Hi, I'm Janelle Miller. I work for Peterson Companies, Inc. I became a laborer in 1997 and was a highway heavy laborer throughout most of it. I also worked in commercial and industrial. I now work for Peterson Companies. I do a lot of their recruiting and I'm the contract administrator. I also am the NAWIC regional director for Women in Construction Week, which is that 7th through the 13th in March. So.
Thank you, Janelle. Next, we would like Barb to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barb Pex, and I still am a carpenter. So I'm not out there for grabs for anybody to recruit, right? I'm a carpenter, and I will be. And I currently work as a business rep for the Carpenters Union. I entered into the trades as a career change back in '99. I took a pre-apprentice program designed specifically to bring women into the trades. It was through Women Venture, and that is how I got into the trades. I went through the apprenticeship as a carpenter, worked in the field for about 9 years as a carpenter, and then the last almost 13 years I've been a business representative for the Carpenters Union. So I'm a huge advocate for pre-apprentice programs to give people a chance to see what trade works for them. So excited to talk about those opportunities, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barb. We will start with specific questions for each of you, and then at some point we're going to turn it over to our audience who probably have many questions of their own. So starting with Janelle. Janelle, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with women in the highway heavy industry, and especially your feedback around the age at which they're entering and how that impacts their role in the highway heavy industry?
From what I've seen, I would say the majority of them that are actually entering the industry are maybe in their mid-30s. It's usually a career change. I don't see in the highway heavy, I don't see very many females. I know that Barb had mentioned that there are some for the pile drivers and that type of thing, that has a large female population. But I know that I know a few female operators and that's about it. The labor force for laborers, there are people that come in and try it for a little while, but they don't stick around. There are several things, especially in the highway heavy industry, due to like the hours of operation and that type of thing, especially in the summer, where it makes it a little more difficult for people, I think, or at least they think it's more difficult. Me being a single parent and stuff like that, you know, daycare is always a big issue. But I know that if you work with your employers and you are upfront with them and stuff like that, I found that they will work with you. So it's just highway heavy is a little different beast.
Thank you so much. Janelle, can you tell us a little bit more about the age issue and how that's different from when men enter the field and how that plays out for women?
You know, I think that it's a lot of times people that are coming into the industry, like I said, as a career change. It's not something, you know, it's after you've separated from your spouse or something like that, and you're having problems not being able to make your bills as a waitress, which has odd hours as well, or whatever. It's more of a career change thing as opposed to just rolling out of high school like a lot of the male participants do. You know, if we go into the high schools, they are a little bit more apt to ask questions and want to know and work on the equipment and that type of thing. Whereas the females, they don't, it's getting better, but I know historically they didn't see a lot of people that looked like them in the high schools. And that's one of the things that I know a lot of the outreach is doing now, and especially, you know, a lot of the females that I know on this call, they're getting more into the high schools to actually allow, you know, the females to see that it's not just a male industry, it's actually a female industry too. It's an everybody industry.
Thank you, Janelle. Next, Norma, some questions for you. Can you help us understand if there are any unique experiences that women of color are having in the field, and how the workplace culture can provide opportunities, or are there any barriers right now?
Well, I know I can speak for myself being in the field. When I came here, coming from New York, it was a lot of people that looked like me. It was, you know, women in the trades, and it didn't seem like there were really many barriers. But when I came to Minnesota, I could see and feel a lot of the barriers. Just working out in the field along with people, it was a problem because they felt that they could say certain things that they should not have said. And I would think, like, now if I was a new person coming in and not seeing anybody else that looked like me working on the site, and somebody said something to me or did something to me, I wouldn't know who to go to, who to talk to. So that would be a barrier for me or someone that looks like me coming in to a particular trade. If it's not that many of us, we just don't see that many of us there. So that would be difficult.
Thank you. Thank you, Norma. Norma, can you also help us understand a little bit, because we know that companies, like for example, all of the companies who are on the call today, they have very strong ethos and values around ensuring diversity, making sure that people are treated equitably, and the company is really promoting that culture. But how does it play out on the ground in a work site that could potentially help us do a better job?
Well, I believe if people were aware of certain things that were happening on the job site and that they agreed that it shouldn't happen, and they approach it, or maybe when in their hiring practices, or just letting people know that they're not going to go along with the practices that are done out there. Being in a position that I am at the Urban League, I'm still getting concerned about how people are treated or not treated on the work site. And I believe it because I can remember there was a time years ago where I was working somewhere and I was the only one person of color, and it was our break time, and someone came in there and said in front of all these people, okay, where is the KKK meeting going on at? Now I'm the only one there as a person of color, but thank goodness the people that I work with, my coworkers, right away they stood up and said that was not going to be tolerated. So if you have more people that feel like that and are not going to just let things happen or be said and just let it slide, I think that would make the workplace a lot more comfortable for people that don't look like the general, population out there working. And I mean, that was, things are still going on. It may not be as blatant, but it still exists because I'm still getting calls or people complaining about things that's going on the job sites. So.
Thank you, Norma. Barb, if you can help us understand a little bit about, in response to what Norma was sharing, the stand by me or be that person, what are the strategies that are currently in place that seem to be working around ensuring workplace culture is safe for people?
Sure. Norma's story is a good, probably the best example of how you change that workplace culture. And so the building trades through the Luck Committee have a program called Prudent, and it's about professionalism. And in that program, we talk about working with people that are different than you, and that could be in many different ways, right? So the building trades is trying to address it through that, and we're in the process of updating that curriculum as well. I know the ironworkers have a project that they're working on at the national level, and I think Barry would have to explain more on this if he gets a chance afterwards, or you could ask him. I want to say it's like I Have Your Back or Be That Guy or something like that, where they are doing bystander training, right? And the Carpenters Union in our area, North Central States, we are in the process of creating a curriculum that we will include specifically for our Pro 10. So every apprentice that comes through our program, every person that takes it, it's a component we're going to add to that. And we're also going to make that available for our foremen and our superintendents and our contractors, because that bystander intervention is truly the way that you change that culture. I'll give you an example. So you're on a job site in a job trailer, and it's a wonderful job site, and you have 20 people in this job trailer. 6 people are people of color, right? And there might be 2 or 3 women. And it is an awesome trailer, and you as a woman walk through this trailer to go over to the microwave, and someone steps in front of you, bumps you in an inappropriate way, right? Or slaps your behind. It happens, right? Now, if I have to turn and smack this person, which might happen, I could be in trouble, right? if I have to go and let that stew with me all day until I can get away and call HR, and then HR does an investigation, it becomes a big deal. And what usually ends up happening is the person that did that gets fired. And then from then on, they have a bad taste in their mouth about working with women or working with anybody that they had that interaction with. And all of their friends that are on that crew know, oh, that's Barb. She's the one that got so-and-so fired, right? And it makes it very uncomfortable on that job site. But if we can actually train those other people in that room to say, hey, not in this trailer, you don't get to do that. And my coworkers shut down that behavior right away, that's how it stops. And so that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get everyone that's working on these job sites to realize that they have a part to play in this. And that's the tricky thing, is it's so much easier to just put your head down and eat your food, or turn and talk to your neighbor, or just ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. Training people and getting people comfortable enough to step up and say something is when this truly changes. And so the program we're creating is called Stand With Me. And the genesis of that program was a union meeting down in Omaha, Nebraska, and where there were 6 women at the meeting, and 2 of them had showed up because they'd had something happen on a job site, and they brought it up in the meeting, and they suspended their meeting, and for the next 45 minutes, they actually talked about the experiences that they had had and some of the things that were going on. And from that, first of all, the other people at this meeting were very upset, and they're like, well, who is this guy? I'm going to go beat him up, right? Not the way to do things, right? So training people how to handle it and step in and stop that inappropriate behavior. It could be any kind of inappropriate behavior, right? It's just getting people to realize that work is work. That's what we're here for, is to work. Yes, we can talk and we can have fun and stuff, but there's a line that you don't get to cross. And that, when we get people to stand up and say, here's the line, and I'm going to protect that line along with this person. That's how that happens. And so we're working on that. And that is, again, we work on it with our apprentices every day, because that's the future of our industry. So,
Barb, I have a follow-up question on
Norma,
that.
very fortunate. Go ahead.
A follow-up question is that I know that we hear that this is hard work. You know, construction is really hard work. And I was wondering that you probably deal with that question. And what would your responses be to women interested in entering this field around that?
So as far as it being hard work, I have this conversation a lot when I talk with people about not wanting their daughter to get into it. And I'm like, being a bartender, being a waitress, being a childcare provider, being a nursing assistant, being a school teacher, all of those are hard jobs, right? And so thinking that what somebody is doing is less than something else is not, I mean, it's not a reality, right? I always tell people that if you're coming into the trades, any trade, there is a physical nature to the trade, right? I mean, we make our living by using our minds and training ourselves, but there's a huge physical component to this. And so I always talk to people about recruiting from sports teams, and not even being athletic. I mean, it could be, maybe it's skiing or hiking or swimming or bicycling, anything that where a person is physically active. It's a good prep to come into the trades. And that's for men and for women. I mean, there's a physical nature, and then also maintaining that physical nature throughout your career. I mean, if you blow your back out or blow your shoulder out when you're 40 years old and you can't consistently stay employed, you're not going to be a benefit. If you take care of yourself and you can work till you're 55 or 60 or even 65 years old, that is the physical nature of this industry.
Thank you, Barb. We would like to give each of you a chance to share if there's something else that comes to your mind, and then we want to be able to open it up for questions. So Janelle and Norma, any other thoughts before we open it up?
So this is Janelle. I was going to say that along with the trades unions and stuff like that. I know that there are a few GCs for sure that are actually doing the be that guy type of a what do you call it, commitment as well. I know it goes a long way. When I was a laborer, the hall, it was local 132 back then in St. Paul, they would send the female apprentices out to my jobs usually because I'm not shy. I would definitely speak up for them and myself and that type of thing if there was inappropriate behavior or something said. Not everybody has my personality, and I understand that. But speaking to the hard work, there's also a pride in the work that I did then, and that's something that I miss. I always used to make the joke that every time somebody in like Rosemount or Empire Township flushes their toilet, they say, "Thanks, Janelle." You know, it's kind of thankless sometimes and people don't think about it, but there's a real pride in it. And I can tell you that after being a waitress at an Italian restaurant, there is nothing about those big trays of food with all those heavy plates on it that's any harder to do than what I did as a laborer, or less hard. It's all just being smart and taking care of yourself and doing the job. So.
Thank you, Janelle. Norma, would you like to share any final thoughts before we open it up?
Yes, I just wanted to share that I do sit on several committees, and these are the topics that we're discussing. And I just wanted to let everybody know that MnDOT has a one-pager out now, and it's called Respectful Workplace Guide, that people can Google that, go onto their website, and it's actually a very good guide that would be nice to be passed around to all the different contractors, trades. It will be very helpful.
Thank you, Norma.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to all three of you for your presentation so far. If it's okay with you, would like to open it up to the audience to be able to ask you questions directly. Anybody would like to start?
Lima, I got a question on the female participation in the construction industry, and I know you started talking about that early on with some of your questions, but for somebody like me, the perception is that there's less inclination for women to want to come to the construction industry, and how do you change that? Maybe that perception is wrong, number one. Number two, how do we change that?
Any of you would like to answer to that?
I think part of it is just getting us as females in front of places and people that may be interested in it. I go around to high schools. I also work with different organizations and that type of thing. Females don't see it a lot of times as an option. They really don't. They don't see themselves in that role because they don't see themselves in that role. It's basically just an outreach thing and letting them know that it is attainable. You can be successful in it. Childcare, like I said before, childcare was my biggest thing when I was getting into it. I was afraid that because you have to start work at 6:45, because that's being on time, not 7 o'clock, 6:45. And, working for 12 hours a day, when I did turnarounds and stuff like that, it was 13 hours a day for 26 days straight. There are some perceived barriers, but they are all things that you can work through. I found childcare, that would allow me to work the hours that I needed to, or I would speak to, my boss, whomever it was in the highway heavy industry, say, hey, listen, I have to leave at, 5 o'clock. I have to. And it would just be my work is front loaded, and then there's other people that can stay, or finding other childcare. So.
Yes, I find that it can be challenging, but I do have several women that are in different trades. So I actually have them come in and talk to the participants, and that way they could share their story, what happens on a job site, what they like about the trade, what they don't like about the trade, but at least the participants get a chance to see someone else in that and is walking down that path already, besides just me. They see other people out there.
This is John O'Phelan, and this is a little bit more of a comment, but might actually you might have some insight to this. And in my experience with this is that I see a lot of females that have done, do really well on the job site, prove themselves well, and still maintain in that area of job project over career employee. And it's always been a struggle for me to see that occur. And I know some females are actually able to, and people of color too as well, get to that place where they actually have a career with the company over they're selected for a project and a job. And do you have tips on like how people can turn that? I know it's the culture of the company and everything as well. That's a really important piece, but geez, that's something I'd just love to see us move forward on in this industry.
Well, I know when the people come to me, I encourage them and tell them that it's not just a job, it's a career. And then I explain to them the difference between a career and the job. So, but these are careers. They're not just jobs.
And I would argue different. I see a lot of females and people of color end up on projects, but not have careers.
Right. But in our reality, from what I see, these are careers. And that's the way that they need to be treated when they're out there working, that these are careers that they want to maintain. They want to reach retirement. They want to be able to get that pension. They want to buy a nice house. They want to be able to take care of their families, especially if they're single parents. These are careers that they that is in place for them, but maybe they're not treated as that because of what they have to face, the obstacles. Well, then that's what makes it just a job, as far as I can see. I mean, maybe other people see something different, but that's just how I feel about it. Because you're making a commitment, you're going to school, you're taking classes. So it's more to this just going somewhere, clocking in, working for the day, the 8-hour shift, and then going home. These are long-term positions. That's what they're supposed to be for us, long-term positions.
This is Jenny Winkler, and I'll just say a couple of things. One, to Dale's question about how do you turn the tide, one of the things that we're doing at Local 49 is we made the strategic decision to try to get better information to students at an earlier age. This is particularly important for females as they decide their career trajectory earlier than their male counterparts usually. So we were very intentional in wanting to make sure that all students throughout Minnesota had access to curriculum and where they could take steps to becoming an operating engineer if that was something that they were interested in. That way, to Janelle's point, they can put the strategic plan in place to help them be successful in the industry. They can make life choices around career choices rather than flip that and have it the other way around. The other thing, to John O'Phelan's question, I think an important point to address that is what you're seeing here today. There's a strong network of female tradeswomen in the industry that are working together. If you look at the events for Women in Construction Week, and shout out to Janelle, who has put tireless efforts into coordinating those. There's a Women Building Success event as well. We're really doing everything we can to get better information out there to females who are interested in the industry. So to Norma's point about sharing the experiences and setting people up for success, that's something that we're working really hard to do. And we are all in lockstep about supporting one another. We all can support our sisters, and we all should. If you're a journey worker, support that apprentice. If you're an apprentice, support that person looking to get into the trades. And I'm proud to say, with the women on this call and in these meetings, I think we do a kick-ass job at that. So thanks everybody for their efforts. We're getting there. This is a much different culture today than it was even 10 years ago. There are events recognizing women in construction, and that's a huge change. And thank you to our male counterparts that are advocates in helping us get there. We could not do that with excluding 96% of the industry. So thank you to them as well.
I think Jenny hit it straight on. So did the other women that are on this panel today. You guys, by the way, it's great seeing your faces. And coming from a general contractor, you know, the contractor side, even representing our subcontractors' voices, it has been a huge change over the last 10 years. The growth of the strength of women in our industry is so great to see, but I think it's also a big point is, you know, and what John said, I can see what he said in the past, but what's great is working with teams of our contractors, and Dale, I'm blessed to have Dale on my team for the light rail project. That was a tough one for me to go to, going from vertical construction to highway heavy. But you guys, seriously, is having that representation of, you know, what the possibilities of that beautiful career are. To have Norma say exactly, she hit it spot on. It is a career. The construction industry trades keep you going. You know, if you've got the heart and soul to do it, you have the opportunity to do it in front of you. So thanks, you guys, and I'm really looking forward to the wonderful things ahead with it.
I want to add something. In my years in monitoring construction, one thing that I've seen is that jobs I've seen is where from the beginning, meaning the superintendents, the project managers, if they are giving the word out at the onset of the project, that's certainly rated, and that respect will be accorded to everyone, it goes a long way. And another thing that I have seen is that when that happens, if a female worker is being harassed or, you know, bullied or something, and not even just a female, but it could be an apprentice of any race and or gender, and somebody steps up and says, hey, we don't tolerate that here. That, I think, is one way in which we keep women in the trades and don't see them leaving. So that's really important that companies put that word out and repeat it. It's not a one-time statement. You need to be consistent and make sure that it's being heard by the foreman, the project managers, all the subcontractors on a project site.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Any other questions or anything from the panelists that has come to mind that you'd like to share?
I actually have a couple things I'd like to jump in on. So one of the things I did to prepare for this is I talked with our pile drivers, right? Because in the Carpenters Union, our pile drivers local, granted it's a smaller local of about 265, 70 members, right? And they have our highest percentage of women of any local, and they were at 4.2% women, right? Which in the industry of all of that is pretty good, right? But in a smaller local, you can skew the numbers very easily with a few people. But one of the things in talking with those women, they came into that with some skills and some trade. They're welders, right? They do a lot of welding and a lot of cutting. And so many of them had come in with a family tie or with a vocational training tie into that industry. And so that connection right away helps them stick, right? And also on those crews, those pile driving crews tend to be smaller crews. And on a smaller crew, everybody has to be working. Everybody has to learn stuff. You can't hide someone in the corner and not have them working, right? So everybody's got to pull their own weight. And in doing that, you become part of a team. And when you're part of a team, you're part of a team, right? And they have your back, and you're not going to hurt your team because that hurts your team. So those are some things that contractors can do is when you find a person of color or a woman, get them connected in with somebody and get them so that they feel part of a team, because they will be more successful and they will make that team more successful when they feel that, right? The last thing is there are a couple awesome opportunities here. We talked about being able to see who you are. In WIC Week, thank you, NAWIC, for that. And that's that whole week, and Janelle has a whole schedule of things planned. One of the things that we are doing, Women Building Success, is going to be part of a panel on March 11th. And I know that information will be shared and distributed to everybody, because on that panel, you will see people answering questions and talking about being in the trades, women specifically, right? So all of those events will be great events to put out there for people to ask questions and see things, right? And then that is leading into that Building Strong Communities cohort group of all women. And I'm excited to see what happens with that, because having all women in a class and exploring all the different trades, I think we will get some really good results from that. So I'm excited about both of those things. And I know that information will be shared with you at the end of this meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Barb. Any other thoughts? Any other questions for the panelists?
Hey, Salima, this is Mary Schmidt from MnDOT.
Hi, Mary. Please go ahead.
So first, thank you so much, Janelle and Norma and Barb. This is just so interesting. I so appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts and kind of picking up on what Jenny said about kicking ass. We don't have it all figured out over here at MnDOT. I mean, we're almost 5,000 employees and we're 22% women. And you've talked about, you know, what your colleagues can do, what the unions can do, even of course what contractor employers can do. What about those of us who are the owners of this infrastructure? We're hiring those contractors. What more do we need to be doing? Anything at all?
I'll jump in on this one real quick.
Go ahead, Barb.
No, I know that our contractors are instrumental. So, you know, engaging those contractors to continue reaching out in community groups and to pre-apprentice programs, right? I'm a firm believer in pre-apprentice programs. So any funding that can go towards pre-apprentice programs is a definite thing that I encourage. And again, working with those contractors and having them develop those relationships with the different training programs and community groups and the different unions that they work with. Those are all things that I think are very beneficial.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Barb. Janelle, you wanted to step in?
Barb basically said what I was going to say. I know that a lot of the GCs that we've worked for and stuff like that have some academies and different things like that on some of their initial like job meetings and that type of thing. Just having that information available for the GCs and you know, having those meetings even during bid time, your pre-bid meetings and that type of thing. You know, that information available is helpful. And I know that, you know, giving that information to them and making some of the GCs that maybe don't have the same networks that we do, having that information readily available makes it a little easier for them to just go ahead and contact those agencies.
Thank you, Janelle. Sure, please go ahead, Gilbert.
Comment. Hello? Yes, thank you. So I just want to commend the ladies that presented or spoke today, you know, for representing a very important section of our construction community. I just want to commend you that what you're doing goes a very long way, you know, leading the charge and representing. The images that you present, you know, are very powerful. There are a lot of people that are going to be looking up to you and trying to get into the trades. And knowing that you guys have gone through a lot of challenges I think Mary asked a question about, as government agencies, what can we do further? I think continuing to hold us accountable, for making sure that the contractors do right by your groups is very important. I represent Hennepin County, and we have our leadership is very interested in making sure that women, minorities are well represented in the work that we present to the contractors. So holding us accountable is really important. When you guys see things happening on projects that represent any of these agencies, bringing it up to not only to the agencies but through Jenny and the other union trades to the country, to the owners, is really important. I don't think there will be any repercussion for bringing up any difficulties or challenges you guys see. We actually encourage that because we want to improve the work environment for women and minorities. So I once again commend you and say that hold your head up and keep doing the good job you're doing. Thank you.
This is
Thank you,
Jenny again. And to Mary's question, something that I think is really important also is to, and this is something specifically that the end users can be helpful with, is highlighting success stories, promoting those success stories so that people do see themselves there, whether that's women or people of color, whatever. We see reports that reflect numbers, but behind those numbers are people. And I think to put faces with those numbers, and even a portion of this meeting could be designated to highlighting success stories of people on the project. I think that goes a long way.
I agree with Jenny for sure. And just your support of the apprenticeship programs and building strong communities and women building success and that type of thing goes a long way when you're highlighting those success stories.
Thank you, Janelle. Any other last thoughts before we wrap up the panel? Any other questions, comments? I can tell you, I don't know if you can see the chat groups, but Norma, Barbara, and Janelle, the chats are just filled with so much admiration, respect for the work that you do. And Jenny, that includes you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom on this panel. It has meant a lot. And thank you again. And we hope that you will not be strangers to this group, but that we can bring you back for your wisdom time and time again. Ashante, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Salima. I just want to echo and say thank you for sharing that wisdom and knowledge with our committee, and also say yes, we look forward to connecting in the future on various issues. If there aren't any more questions or comments, I'll just say, wow, I think this is first time in a while that we've ended early, but I will conclude the meeting and turn you loose to the cold. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too.